Hello, all out there in Mamfest world. This is Erin Quill. I am the Fairy Princess Diaries, and we are very excited to present We Are Not All Ninjas, the panel that we're starting today. However, all these people honestly could be ninjas if they were given like a couple months warm up, because these are all tremendous actors who started their careers in the stunt world and have made a great transition to not only acting, but writing and directing. And it's all very important. So it's very important we talk about it. And it's also very important for representation in general to make sure that, we're represented in all areas. There was a brouhaha earlier this year when they found out a stunt double was not, did not share the same ethnic heritage, racial heritage as one of the principal actors. And that discussion opened up a lot of other discussions that have honestly benefited the stunt community in general. I think it's really important to talk about that. So I want to introduce my panel. First up, we have Samantha Wynn from Canada. She's here from Canada. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Samantha started as a wushu champion, and in 2012, she debuted as an actress in the role of Katana in Mortal Kombat Legacy, followed by her role as Carvex in 2013's Man of Steel. She's appeared in a ton of projects since then, including a lead role in Zack Snyder's 2021 film Army of the Dead, and in 2021, woohoo! She will also be starring in Michael Ryan's The Dresden Sun. Give it up, Samantha!
Woo! Thank you, guys.
Okay, next. Yes, and I'm going to just intro everybody, and then we're going to circle back. Oh, and I wanted to say, for those of you who may be visually impaired, Samantha is very beautiful. She is a mixed race person. She has long, flowing, dark hair. She has fair skin, and she's wearing a maroon sweater, and her background has a green painting and sunflowers. Okay, next up, Yoshi Sudarso.
Hey.
Hey. Yoshi was born in Indonesia to parents of Chinese and Javanese descent. His family then moved to Korea. His family then moved to California. He has a younger brother who's also an actor, and he began his career working stunts on shows such as The Maze Runner, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Alita Battle Angel, and more. He was an actor for Power Rangers Samurai and Power Rangers Megaforce before he was finally cast in a main role as Koda for Power Rangers Dino Charge. He was also cast as Mike Wulan's spaghetti western film Buffalo Boys, which is an Indonesian language film. And then that film became Singapore's submission for the Oscars foreign film category. In August 2018, he joined the cast of the Manila set independent drama Empty by Design, and he starred among such great names as Osric Chow and Chris Pang. And the same month, it was announced he had joined the cast in a key supporting role in his second Indonesian language project, Millie and Mammoth. So give it up for Yoshi.
Woo!
Oh, I know, right? And then now, okay, so it's weird for me to introduce her because she is my sister from another mister. She is such a good friend. And I'm just like so thrilled to be in any room with her ever, even if it's virtual. This is Ms. Diana Lee Inosanto. She has just recently become part of the iconic Star Wars franchise as Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth. After doing almost every other job Hollywood has to offer, from stunt person to director, but she credits her success to having the good fortune of being raised in a charmed circle of renowned martial artists, actors, and stunt people who paved the way for so much of the excitement in today's action-filled media. She is the daughter of martial arts legend Dan and his wife Sue Inosanto. She is the goddaughter of the late Bruce Lee, Diana Lee Inosanto. And as an American actress, director, writer, martial arts, she did her first feature film as a director, as a writer, and as an actor, on which I was an associate producer, by the way, The Sensei. And I knew then that she would do amazing things, and she has never, ever let me down, not one time. So, yay!
Thank you.
So now we want to delve into it because this is one of the things. Oh God, what did I do with my hair? It's going backwards and forwards, and oh God, whatever. Anyway,
looks great.
Yeah, lies, all lies.
No lies.
Diana has caramel colored hair, and she's sitting in front of a dark brown background with a pink sweater on. And Yoshi is looking very high tech. He is also he's sitting in front of a neon sign that is a cutout of his head. So it looks like he is a Power Ranger sitting here at this chair with us, and he has a blue background. So it's very, very dynamic. I wish, if you aren't able to see it, I wish you could, because it's pretty cool. So now we're going to talk about, when I was in school, we were required to study combat training. That was part of our education as an actor. And it seems to me, now granted, it was a European, European-based acting program, and my program, I was the only Asian in my class, and so on and so on and so on. And I don't know where or when Hollywood decided they had to split and specify that one was solely a stunt person, because none of you, even though you started, maybe that was the first job you got, or you had a series of jobs that way, a stunt person is no less an actor to me than, Brad Pitt or Hilary Swank or anything. All those people did they've all done stunt work, and people kind of it doesn't negate their acting. So where do you think this line came from? Samantha, you want to start?
I wouldn't be able to say where the line came from, other than, if I had to guess, it would be that because in the sports world, the martial arts world, there's such a level of humility that perhaps people might have taken someone saying, oh, I do martial arts, oh, don't put a camera in front of me, or kind of that self-deprecating humor or humility that you might bring to a set could have been maybe turned against them in a strange way, or perhaps seen as being too serious a comment than it should have been. I don't know. That would just be my guess. I think it's an unfortunate stereotype or stigma that's been placed on martial artists and stunt people. But I wholeheartedly agree that I think it's just another medium of performance. Like, we use our voices, we use our bodies, we use all the tools that we have accessible to us. Martial arts and stunts is just another tool. So I can't fathom why it is a negative sometimes.
Yoshi, you've done a lot of especially with the Power Rangers, because I feel like back in the day, didn't the Power Rangers split from the people who did martial arts? And then they had like an acting cast, and then they had the martial arts cast, and the martial arts cast had their faces hidden.
Well, I'm not sure about the originals. I mean, I knew a little bit of it from hearsay and whatnot, but from our end, they back in the day, they used to want to cast martial artists or people who could move, right? Whereas when I auditioned, that was no longer the case. They required us to show 10 seconds of some sort of physical ability, whether it be doing handstands, dancing, whatever it was, anything. It could have been anything. And then for us, I never wore my suit. I didn't wear my costume at all. I did it for photos, and then on set, I didn't wear it once. We didn't have any scenes without the helmet. So anytime there was a scene with the suit, mostly it was already pre-recorded footage from Japan that they used, or our second unit was filming it at the same time we were filming on first unit. So there was no point for me to ever get in the suit. So it just, I think it's kind of changed over time. And for ours, from what I know, is that if you were going to use Power Rangers, Toei, the owner of Power Rangers or Super Sentai in Japan, one of their things in their contract was you are to use Japanese stunt performers because we have a certain look, a certain movement, and we're keeping that movement, kind of like keeping the brand, basically. So no actors would ever get into the suits or anything like that, even though I had a background in it. They gave us fights outside of our costumes and whatnot, but as soon as you did the morph, it was somebody else. And I think to answer that question specifically, what Samantha was saying is exactly that. It's people worry about not being able to put people in boxes, And I think it freaks people out when you can't put anybody in a box, when they can't figure out what you are. That's why people have that question of, what are you? Where were you born? Stuff like that. Those kinds of things are just
Where were you really born?
Right. And for me, it's the opposite, right? I get, where are you from? I go Cerritos. Like, oh, where were you born? I'm like, oh, okay, well, Indonesia. And they go, oh, well then, why is your English so good? Like it goes a different path, right? Instead of like, I'm from here, I'm from somewhere else, but my English is fluent. I don't have an accent. So I think it's just people like to put people in boxes. People don't like, people that are multiple things, multi-hyphenates, which humans are, and people just don't get that. What, you're a jock. And people, I look more like a jock nowadays because I work out, but people are like, oh, but you play video games? How does that? Like, you can do both. You can enjoy both, right? And I think that's where it comes down to. They want, oh, you're a stunt guy. That's it. That's all you'll do. You're an actor. That's all you'll do. You're a voice actor. That's all you'll do. You're a movement actor. That's all you'll do. I don't know why that has to be the case and why we have to break out of it. It's just unfortunate.
It really is. Diana, now I've run into you on sets because I ran into you on the Rent set, which I had totally forgotten. I was there as a guest because my friend was one of the actors in it. And you came walking up and Chill was like, oh, there's Diana. I was like, wait, what? You've done a tremendous amount of stunt work, but you've also written and directed and acted and produced in your own screenplay, as your own feature film, which premiered yesterday on MAMFest. What was it? I know, which is amazing. I mean, it really is amazing.
And a whole new generation too. Isn't this right? Amazing, Erin? A whole generation.
It's so mind-blowing because it's hard to explain to people how conservative the culture was 15 years ago.
Well, yeah, 2005, 2006, 2007. It took us 3 years to make this movie.
Yeah, it's hard.
The Great Recession hit, even though we were going through the film festivals. And then 2010 is when it was officially launched digitally, when streaming was just in its baby form on Netflix and some other streaming channels. So what a that we had.
I remember you saying, like, it's going to be on Netflix. And we were like, what?
What's Netflix?
So what changes have you seen? What changes have you seen over the years now as like stunt? Has it gotten easier for people to break out of that, I just do stunts? Or
let me go back a little bit in time, because your earlier question was about why was this change? I honestly think it goes back to insurance companies in Hollywood.
Oh.
Listen, I hate telling people my age, but it's so easy to check. I mean, you guys, Yoshi, Sammy, kids, okay? Seriously.
No.
But you don't look it.
Oh, you're so kind. You're so.
That's the important part, right?
Yes. Cosmetics.
Or feel it.
But no, and then plus as a kid, I was a witness to the stunt community.
Right.
All the way back to Green Hornet when my dad was on it, because Uncle Bruce had my dad come in and double for Mako. But I mean, you think about it, like we were talking before we started doing this interview, there was a time in the old Hollywood system, they would, make everybody, even the actors, train in European swordplay, which is European martial arts. Now, why they got weird about, martial artists from Asia, I don't know why that happened. It just did. It became something exotic in Hollywood. But I mean, there's been a lot of transformation through the decades and just witnessing all this. And I really think it has something to do with the actors really kind of got tired, or they could have been hurt. And insurance companies are like, we can't cover this if an actor gets hurt and then it stalls, production. We have to put stunt doubles into the picture. And so I think that's kind of how it began. But then all of a sudden it became this weird thing where, well, some people probably can't act. We'll just leave that into a compartmentalized area of the actor. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, what was the question? I can't even remember.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just take it.
Take it, yeah. But I mean,
run with it. Inosanto, you got the ball. All right.
But it's exciting now because I think we're starting to see a return now to the actor hybrid action person, or actor hybrid, stunt person. We've seen this with Yoshi. We've seen this with Samantha. Thank goodness, because I mean, when I went into the business, I mean, I was a trained actress, but diversity wasn't even on the radar of people in Hollywood. I mean, Erin, I remember I don't know if you remember this, but I remember, auditioning with a couple of my friends from the African American community, Asian, Hispanic, all for that one 4-liner in Hollywood. And that was it, but thank goodness, because of my martial arts history, I was able to utilize that and become a stunt woman in Hollywood and work for many years. But, at heart, I was always an actor. And thank goodness with the theater company that I was involved with, Lodestone, because of Chill Kong.
Oh, right.
Right. It kept, I was able to learn to continue on that creative artist side of me, whether it's as a choreographer or actor, or learning a different approach to directing or producing and writing. And that was the beautiful thing about being part of a theater company, is that kind of that energy, rubbing onto you, so but boy, what a journey, and it's exciting now, because you are definitely seeing a lot of crossover now.
Yeah, I look at shows like, for example, Warrior, and right, which is
my god sister's one of the producers, so yeah,
exactly. I'm actually, I know a couple of the actors pretty well, and the integration between stunts and acting doesn't even seem like a discussion. It just is. It's like a natural part of the story, and it bothers me in a way, because I think about, like, how many great acting parts did people miss out on because they had to make a living and they're doing their stunts and they're pigeonholed. But, like, I'm sure there were some really brilliant actors in these different venues and just didn't get that shot.
And it was a matter of survival.
Right.
Yeah, I think of somebody like Ron Ewan, who you worked with, Yoshi.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
and Ron's a friend. Yeah.
He was a stuntman for many years, but he was always a good actor, a great actor. But at that time, like I said, diversity was not really on the radar of Hollywood. And so I know a lot of people that, in order to survive, they had to do other things like stunt work, singing, voice, whatever they could, just to just be able to take care of their families. But sometimes at that time in the 90s and early 2000s, there was still this stigma, and it was really hard sometimes. So I'm just glad that things have been changing, and I think it's, I think too, other cultures, like China, and Hong Kong and other areas of Asia where they make their own projects, now for some reason over there, it's perfectly fine. Their actors are also physical performers, right?
Oh yeah, I interviewed Jackie Chan one time, and he spent half the interview showing me all the bones that he had broken in his body. And he's like, "You want to touch it?" And I was like, "No."
Wiggle.
I know.
He was like, this toe 13 times, this arm, he's broken every bone in his body. And I was like, that is some red pants dedication, my friend. So, I mean, like, it's good that we have modern safety techniques and all that kind of stuff. But so what do you think, Samantha, about should the stunt person match the principal actor in terms of, like, ethnicity and color, not just coloring, but like ethnic background? Because, like, it does impact, body shape and flexibility,
Yeah. I don't think that there's any one, well, there should be black and white rules, but I think it's still something that we're all kind of figuring out where those boundaries are, because yes, it is extremely important that the performer be able to safely perform whatever the stunt or task is at hand, but also there's an extreme imbalance of opportunity for people of color versus Caucasian performers throughout history with stunts, and that's starting to change, but there does need to be a merriment of opportunity. And I think it's helping now that there are so many more projects where people of color are cast as main cast. And so it is requiring stunts and fights and a higher level of performance that now they'll need performers of color, stunt people of color, to be able to double and get those same kinds of opportunities. So I do think it is changing, but where it comes to, like, if there was just a very tanned Caucasian actor or actress and it was going to be, say this is the flip side, like a person of color doubling them because they know the stunt at hand. I guess that's the kind of conversation that's happening right now, because that the vice or the flip side of it, if it's a person of color and it's a Caucasian person that's just tanned up or painted down, we have all, I think, kind of seen that that is damaging and harmful to the community, not okay. Everyone sees that, and it's just kind of figuring out all of the other questions about what about this scenario, what about this scenario. But I think just knowing what our history is, and that people of color have been denied opportunity for so long, honoring that, knowing that history, accepting it, so that moving forward, future decisions can be made on a kind of base-to-base cases, understanding where we have gone wrong in the past and to acknowledge that. I don't know if that's specific enough. It's just so hard to say without knowing a specific scenario with all of the factors involved.
Yeah,
Right.
it's hard to draw a line in the sand with that kind of situation. Everything has to be, like you said, case by case, because you just never know what it is. You know, what is the stunt? It's a specific stunt that needs this specific skill set. Well, we don't have somebody of that exact ethnicity or color. Or what if it is the exact ethnicity and then their color don't match? You know, is it then okay to you know, use a little bit more of a different color makeup, whatever it may be? It just has to be like, it depends on all. Is this a big budget production that is able to look for those kinds of people, or is it a small production who doesn't have quite the resources that they would to do a big open wide search, you know? And it just, there's so many different ways that it could go wrong. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way it's perceived online and what people are quick to judge with. You know, my buddy, this is not a stunty part of it, but you know, my buddy, he did a Monkey King project, and everybody was so quick to judge. New Zealand, actually, yeah.
Oh yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, and you know, he's Asian.
I'm half Australian, so I grew up watching the original Monkey.
Oh,
original, you know,
yeah.
down in Japan. So I did watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the new one, you know, my buddy is Monkey, and the first, when his first photos came out, everybody just destroyed him for not being Asian, and he's like, I am. Like,
well, that's
you know,
conversation about mixed race,
you know,
and like where we've been. You know, it's amazing to me, being years old, that people
I can catch you.
My child thinks I'm 29, so I'm just gonna stay with that.
Right.
And you should start right now, Yoshi. You should start. Like, Daddy's 29, and he's
forever and ever.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
I'm trying to play my age. It's just not happening.
I know it doesn't, you know, but
20-year-old college student all the time.
But when I saw that show and people did start this like brouhaha, I believe I am the fairy princess, but I believe the fairy princess wrote a piece about it and said, because I do cover New Zealand and Australia and England and France, that this is actually very representative of New Zealand, right? Mixed race people are all over the world, and it's not our fault that we are only now being seen in these different venues. We've always been here, and there's always been representation. Anywhere there's a port city, there is multiple raced people, but the issue is that we've never had the presence where people could see us and invite us into their lives. Like Lucille Ball said, you know, she was flying in a plane and she looked down and she was kind of depressed, but she said to her seat companion, you know, I could walk into any living room down there and I would be welcomed. And I think that's kind of where we are. We're on the precipice of that, because the more of us that get this opportunity, the more we show people what we look like, the more they kind of fall in love with our characters and therefore us. That's the door that's opening. But I do feel that it is cultural ignorance to look at mixed race people and say, well, I don't know what you are, and therefore you're not X.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
No. And also too, getting back to about the whole topic about, you know, the the whole narrative about, doubling and there's, Yoshi hit upon it, because sometimes if you are dealing with a small production that does not have the budget like a studio budget. I mean, listen, my husband was in Romania stunt coordinating, and he didn't have access to a pool of people to, from the Asian community that could also pull off the necessary physical stunt and safety of that was needed to do that character. And so there's always this bumping in swimming around this gray area, and you have to figure out per production. That's why it's not always so definitive to make that choice all the time. Certainly, when you're here in the States, you should be able to find somebody that can exercise a lot of that talent. But sometimes when the location is far away or remote, that's where it becomes a challenge for sure. Safety is still paramount at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, yeah. One of the things that was in the diversity and stunts initiatives that actually the maker of statements is in the living room over there. It's my boyfriend Shahab.
Yeah, Shahab.
The maker of statements.
Yeah, or he collected ideals from like dozens and dozens of stunt people to have these conversations. But one of the important initiatives on there was in the training and opportunity giving and shadowing on set to have on-set experience of new performers of color, so that we could slowly remove the excuses of, well, I couldn't find someone that could do it and looked the part. So it's training a wider variety of stunt performers and getting them up to a level to where the world is our oyster for picking performers now. It's not like, oh, I can only think of one performer off the top of my head that can perform this, therefore I am just going to hire them and make them whatever color I need to make them.
Right.
But in giving more opportunities and education on set to more people and more people of color, will slowly start to balance that, and it won't be a valid excuse anymore that you couldn't find someone. But like Diana said, in faraway locations where there isn't as wide a variety of color of people as we have in the States or in North America, I could still see that being challenging.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to, paramount, of course, is safety, right? That's the most important thing. No one dies. That's, right? So if I had a choice between a stunt performer that perhaps matched the lead actor exactly, but wasn't quite up to the task of diving off a 3,000-foot cliff.
Nobody is.
Then I would choose that person. I would pick the person.
CGI.
I would pick the person that could do it. I would pick the person that could do it and be like, we'll shoot from a distance, pull that helicopter way back. Like, just, I mean, I think that it is.
And we also have to address too, it's about body type. A lot of times it's body type, it has nothing to do with, you've got to find something that matches the body of the actor as well. So that's where it gets to be this gray area, right, where it gets really difficult. So,
but I think you're right, Samantha. Like the investment in our communities, it's something that I started doing. Was a lot of, ever since I got into more of the acting crowds, a lot of my actor friends are constantly getting auditions, and because we're Asian, they ask us if we can do martial arts. So, a lot of my friends are like, I don't know how to throw a punch. Like, and
don't you hate it when the answer is yes too?
Yeah.
You're like, damn it, I am the stereotype.
Yeah, I am. And I'm good at math.
I'm terrible at math, so that I wipe you out.
I was a mathlete. That was my thing. I know. I literally came to America and was like, yep, that's me. Can't speak English. Really good at math. I got you. No, anyway, but that was the thing, is they couldn't throw a punch or whatever. So I took time to, I started a class where it was just for people to learn basic choreography so that they would have something to show, like, producers, just to appease producers enough to finally invest in them. Because that's the thing is why is it for Asian performers, why do we have to speak another language? Why do we have to have martial arts background or some sort of physical background to be cast in a role? And some places be from a certain place, you know? So there's all these like hurdles, and then now even more so hurdles that are even added. It's, you know, you have to be the perfect ethnicity for this character. Well, why can't you shape the character to me then, if that's so much what you're worried about, you know? Because again, you know, for me I'm Indonesian from my culture and all that, but I'm not actually Indonesian. I have no Indonesian blood technically. So
Right.
But I'm never gonna be cast as a Chinese character because I don't look Chinese.
No, but see,
so there's like all these things, you know.
But see, you do look Chinese to me, because I know from my family, which is mixed for 4 generations. Now we're actually up to 5 generations. My grandmother was mixed race, and I have cousins that look like all of you. You know, I have cousins of every shade that's on the planet. Any mix that you come up and you're like, well, I don't know, I'm Brazilian and I got that. You know, you know, well, I don't know, we're Aboriginal and I got that. You know, all of the.
You're right. I should specify to productions I don't look Chinese, because I've had to prove that I was Chinese to audition for multiple things.
But are those things in Asia?
No,
here.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I've had a similar type questioning around exactly where I was born or my parents in order to be cast or considered for certain things as well. So yeah, to have to prove that I'm Asian enough,
kind of
which
annoying.
Unfortunately I've never really been able to prove that, because I'm not Asian enough a lot of times.
Oh, I'm not Asian enough either. Diana,
Yeah,
you Asian enough?
Enough, you know, and especially now that my hair's lighter, just to cover up my grays. Yeah, I'm definitely not Asian enough.
Funny enough, we probably
of people not Asian enough.
Yeah,
it's been that way my whole
like, yeah, like I probably passed better, and probably Diana too, as like a Latina, but because of the same things, like I couldn't really be cast as that, because that would not be right or fair to the Latina community. But it's just where do we fall? I don't know.
I think it's an issue. It's always an issue with mixed race people, right? I've only maybe once or twice been hired to be Asian by an Asian person. But white people will hire me to be an Asian person at like the drop of a hat. They're like, good enough, close enough. God, you know,
right.
Because if I'm hired as an Asian person, it's for a specific reason. And the reason usually is I can sing really well. You know, I do musicals. So that kind of trumps their need for DNA, I imagine, like a DNA swab. But I do
have to do that anyway.
I do think that, like, in this time, it is really important for mixed race people to stand up and say, I do represent this culture. I might not look exactly like you, and I might not, you know, have the same eyes you have, but I am a part of it, and you will not discount me because of my parentage when I'm actually included because of my other parentage.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of educate people that we are here and we represent, whether or not we fully look like what they envision us to look like, because who made them the bosses of everything?
Yeah, and maybe too, I mean, I brought this up yesterday, earlier before the panel I was doing, and we were talking about, you know, the recent Census Bureau, which I don't know if anybody's read that recently. I don't know if Canada does the same thing or not, but to be honest with you, I was actually very encouraged. I did not expect those stats until like another 20 or 30 years. So it's already happening. We have multiracial families, blended families. It's happening. I mean, this is the future. I mean, we are the future, and this is the amazing thing. And I am definitely starting to see even more of a drive now for diversity. And I don't know about you, Erin, or Samantha, if you've been going through this and but you know, it's like now, what is the new term? Like your
ethnically ambiguous.
Ambiguous, right? You know, I never had seen that until like the last 3 years. You know, so it seems like there seems to be a push that, hey, we can all just be citizens of Earth, and it's just about can you tackle this character, you know? So
right. So for anyone who hasn't read the census, in 1970, the birth rate of mixed race babies was 0 to 0.5%. of the population. And the last census indicated that the birth population of mixed race children is actually at 13%. That's across the entire population. So again, it's slightly terrifying for, I guess, parents of mixed race kids, but the numbers are for sure growing. And, it is encouraging. But, at the same time, if you've been doing this for a while, it is exhausting to know that you've run on this treadmill your whole life and there's more coming, and we don't seem to have that many more answers for them than we got when we were young.
Yeah. 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 But it's still, I think we're in the right direction.
Cool. It's still cool. We can still look to The Rock. We can still look to Keanu Reeves,
Momoa, yeah, all that.
Momoa. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the men have an edge.
True. I do. I did think about that.
Take it.
No, it's interesting. The men seem to have on that versus the women. Although Olivia Munn, that's a good director.
Yeah. Maggie Q.
Maggie,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly.
Amy Hill.
Yeah, Amy. Perfect example. So
Amy's killing it.
Diana.
Well,
yeah.
Time.
Samantha. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting conversation because as the globe changes, right? As we all are considered now people of the global majority. So, but I guess we're kind of the bridge.
Yeah, a bridge is a great analogy. I remember talking to Shannon, because Shannon, even though
it's a bridge.
Shannon, by the way, she's an executive producer of Warrior. She's also Bruce Lee's daughter. But we were talking because she's mixed like we are, and she just said it's almost like, in a way, it's almost like being your own separate race in many ways. The experience of it, that it's a very unique set of experiences, both bold and nuanced. But Erin, I found the same experience with you. It's like if I was being mixed, my Caucasian friends or associates would tend to kind of sometimes look at me as more Caucasian.
Right.
Somebody Asian, of course, they would maybe say, "Hey, I know Diana," and vice versa. If I was maybe around an Asian colleague of mine, then they would tend to look at me more as Asian than Caucasian. And I don't know. I remember I took a sociology class, and they talk about that. That's kind of normal in human behavior. We just tend to kind of, connect with whoever that person is that might have something on common ground with us. So. But I'm just, like I said, I'm very hopeful for the future, and I'm glad that Hollywood is starting to make steps to open up the doors to people of diversity, including people like us.
I mean, I know, speaking from the non-mixed side, that
a
lot of my
Indonesia.
I'm not actually. When you said that, I was like, I'm not actually.
Oh, really? That's wrong. Sorry.
That's wrong. No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm just Chinese. I mean, I have like, the percent Japanese here. My brother did the whole thing, and then there's like a couple things. So yeah, in a sense. But I remember growing up, and that was a thing in where I grew up. It was like everybody wanted to be, I wish we were mixed, or I wish, you know what I mean? So there is that side of it where we wish that we were, but again, grass is greener on the other side, always. But actually, I think I think they just showed my short film on the panel before this, and that's what it's about. Actually, we did a monkey. Basically, it's called The Monkey Prince and the Flower Maiden, and it's me and my brother, and my brother plays. We play the two sons, so the princes of the Monkey King, and I am the pure monkey god son, and he is the half monkey god son. And it's about his journey, about finding out that just leaning into the part that he is the bridge between the two worlds of the gods and the humans. And that's how he gets his strength. That's the whole point of that. I don't know if you guys that are watching it and you watched it, if you didn't make that connection, that's what the whole thing was about. It was about the mixed race. And my character plays like the jerk brother because he's like, I'm pure, and whereas my brother plays the other half.
No,
but
they
then
did
I come to that realization
in Aquaman. That was the storyline in Aquaman. And I remember going to see Aquaman, and people were like, "Why are you crying in a Marvel movie?" And I said, You don't understand. This is the first time I've ever felt like I've seen myself, and I'm years old. But it really, to me, was like the first time I had seen a representation of two dissimilar parents, one of whom falls in that AAPI diaspora, and my DNA does include that. And and then to see Jason Momoa, he was so apparently from so many different cultures. I just really was like, oh, this is it. I get it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, so you're on this panel, but let's talk about you guys. Samantha, what's next coming up for you? Because you've had a lot of action recently.
Yeah, it's been an extremely exciting time. So of the things that I can share, I'm going to be working on a film called The Dresden Sun, starting filming, I think, early this coming year, next year, directed by Michael Ryan. I'm extremely excited about it. It's going to be like a cyberpunk indie.
Yes.
I love the character I'm going to get to play. Yeah. So I'm just kind of having fun doing my research and fleshing everything out in that universe. And I'm extremely excited about the timing too, because then I get to enjoy my holidays, and I'm starting my year fresh with all of these exciting projects coming up. So I'm in a good, happy time right now, especially coming off of Army of the Dead. I felt so much love, and all this new opportunity came, and I feel genuinely like how you guys were saying things are getting better, and how perhaps early 90s it was a different story. I do feel the rewards of all of your trailblazing careers, because it is more and more frequent that I'm seeing in breakdowns or in new projects coming out, lead roles for Asian or even mixed Asian or ethnically ambiguous women. There's just so many more kinds of characters available to us that it's exciting. It's not frustrating. And it's only getting better when it comes to strong women in film, when it comes to people of color, when it comes to people of different ethnicities and nationalities being an unexpected kind of character, or a jock can also be a gamer. That I feel like the world is being painted with so many more colors now that it's an exciting time for all of us.
Yoshi, do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, I got a couple really fun things actually. I can't say what the project is, but I just booked something that is a superhero character, and he originally is not Asian descent, and they've switched it for me, and I started filming that Tuesday. So I head out and I get to film that. It's just a small, like, short web series thing that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I actually am producing and starring in a project called The Weekend, and it's a story about an Indonesian American, family in a sci-fi world. So it's going to be sci-fi and romance as well, and that's something we haven't seen before. And so we're doing that in October, and I might be working with Ron, actually. Since you guys all know Ron, I'll be working with Ron possibly at the end of the year, which hopefully we'll be able to announce soon. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff, and it is a good time. Samantha's right. Like, it has come to, my it hasn't, what is it? I've realized just how good we have it right now. It is a good time for us, because just even in the past decade, when I first started to now, I remember wanting to get into the industry for acting and realizing there were no roles for somebody like me. Not really. So that's why stunts was a thing. You could put a mask on me and I'd be in the back and you'd never see me. It's fine. You know what I mean? And now I'm doing all of this, and it's quite exciting, and for all the trailblazers before. So thank you.
That's awesome.
And Lady Diana, what's coming up for you? More Star Wars or what?
Well, I did 2 projects, but I signed NDAs. Oh, those NDAs.
Yes.
We're so excited.
We'll talk about it backstage. Friend DM.
NDAs, didn't they know we had this panel?
Oh my gosh, those dreaded NDAs. But I can talk about something Erin already knows about. Years back, it was actually in the news. I'm because in this pandemic we are now seeing the positivity of that. You know, you can have a successful project through streaming. We're now looking at a project that I was getting off the ground as a producer and writer called about my dad when he worked with the Dallas Cowboys, and he was the first one to help implement martial arts into the NFL. And the Dallas Cowboys had actually went all the way to the Super Bowl. So we're starting, I've been in talks now to kind of maybe pivot from making this into a film and doing more TV streaming. So, which I prefer, because then it allows me to have a much more bigger platform to tell a story and to really shape something in a way that could also be more inclusive of more people. Because, you know, when you do a film, it's a 2-hour format for the most part, and you've got to try to, you know, tell as much story as you can. But when you do like something like a, you know, a series, it's a much more easier process. So that's what I'm focusing on. And then I'm hoping to get back behind the camera as a director. You know, again, COVID has made things a little bit challenging for me, but there are definitely certain things that I'm hungry to do as a filmmaker. You know, sort of be like a female Taika Waititi, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I remember back when we were doing the Sensei, and you had talks with so many people. And one of the things that we talked about was, and I'll bring it up here just to remind you, I don't want a piece of it or anything, but that I said you should do a warrior woman trilogy.
Yeah.
Because there always have been female martial artists of all kinds throughout time that like led armies and vanquished villages and everything. And I thought, well, who better to do that than somebody like Diana, who is multiracial and can tap into like authenticity on many sides of her heritage and really push that agenda.
Yeah.
You know, and the cast would feel comfortable. The cast would feel comfortable. I would feel comfortable support. I think that I think right now you have tremendous opportunity. I think that this is a time of change and we all have to lean into it. And so I'm, you know, that's what I'm hoping for you. When I see like Wonder Woman, I'm like, why didn't Diana direct that? You know?
It's for Patty though. I mean,
Totally.
that helps break down those barriers. So
Yeah, but I'm saying like there should be room, like, you know, it's kind of like it should be more like a buffet table than just like an exclusive 3-course dinner that only 12 people can sit down at.
Yeah, it's coming. Right. More women directors are getting out there, and that's one thing I'm excited about. So, you know.
So good. So now, so as we wrap up, I just want to say that I am so glad that a lot of you are doing self-produced projects and really spurring yourselves on to creating this world where it's accepted that you're a multi-hyphenate in so many different categories. You know, I think that is tremendously important. I think it's a great example for kids and, you know, people that are coming forward in the business now. But I also think that we have to remind people that multi-hyphenate isn't a disadvantage. It doesn't mean you can't focus when you need to. It means that you have limitless potential. And what you really want is just opportunity. We all do things because we get the opportunity. And if you've only gotten the opportunity in one direction, that's all you're going to do. But if you have this opportunity to kind of like throw it all against the wall, that's exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm so proud of all of you. Like, it's so encouraging to everybody to be able to sit here and go, oh, you know what? I like to do this, but I also like to write, but I also like to dance, but I also like to produce. You know, if you looked at my IMDb page, it's all over the place. Like, it looks like I'm a schizophrenic.
Yeah.
She's like, it's like art direction, crew, but you know, blah, blah, blah. But that was because that was what was there. That was what was there at the time. I didn't have a choice. Yeah. You know, all the choices I made weren't really choices. It was like, that was the only thing I could do. Exactly. So I wanted to keep moving. So I did them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really empowering that you guys all have choices that you can take and you can decide not to be a schizophrenic, as myself, but like that you can jump on all these opportunities. This is like amazing. This is amazing. You all three are just like so encouraging and amazing. I'm so thrilled.
You've been a wonderful host. I love this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gas
All right,
me up some more. Let's go.
I know. Well,
This is how you do a Sunday.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to make sure that we end on a positive. You know, my last panel that I hosted, I said to people, you know, this is a time, you know, of course, Diana's a hair older than Samantha, but like all this, but that's not a detriment. It's like the work that was laid is now being showcased, and it wouldn't have happened without Diana. It wouldn't have happened without Diana's dad and without her godfather Bruce, and it wouldn't happen without people like Alvin Ng and all these other great Asian American Pacific Islanders who just kept pushing. You know, they were Sisyphus, you know, throwing that rock up against the hill and getting squashed by it.
Yeah,
Let me just say, quite literally wouldn't happen without Diana and her father, because my mentor, who gave me all my opportunities, was a student of Diana Inosanto, Damon Caro, who's another mixed ethnicity person, and it quite literally opportunity came from your
quite literally, exactly.
Yes.
So, you know, all of this is like people see the iceberg and they think it looks big from the water, but they don't realize how far it stretches underneath. And I think we're all ready to like gut that boat of white supremacy and like send that Titanic down to the deep.
There you go. You know, I want to go with this one saying that has always philosophically been in my head since I was a kid. My godfather used to say, and by the way, my godfather was a quarter, you know, Caucasian, and you know, he had to deal with his own issues in Hong Kong, you know, and mixed, even though he looked very much, you know, Chinese. He said, in primary freedom, one utilizes all ways, but is bound by none. And I'll repeat that again. In primary freedom, one utilizes all ways and is bound by none. So, and that's the way I look at our paths, is we've had to, you know, utilize different ways and not be bound by it, you know, and there's something beautiful in that, you know, that expression as artists, you know. So,
True.
bravo to you guys.
That should be the statement mission for ma'am.
Yes.
That should be on the front page. Yeah.
I think we're going to wrap it up, but I want to thank you all for being here on your Sunday. Thank you. Miss Samantha Wynn. Yay!
Thank you so much.
Yoshi Sudarso. And Diana Lee Inosanto. Yay! That's a personal yay from me.
Thank you, Erin.
My name is Erin Quill. You can find me espousing going off and trying to dismantle white supremacy on my blog, The Fairy Princess Diaries. Until then, this has been Ma'am Fest. So we just want to say thank you, ma'am. And we'll see you next year. Thank you, Alex Chester, and your amazing staff.
Yeah.
All right.